From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
From northern Arizona to New York City, members of the Navajo Nation traveled across the country to protest a plan for a controversial coal power plant.
Plus, candidates are gearing up for a long campaign trail for some of Arizona's top executive and congressional positions.
And how Saturday's big win for ASU football is giving the team momentum for the rest of the season.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jake Trybulski.
And I'm Ashley Mackey. Thank you for joining us.
It's a long way to go to make a point, but a handful of Navajo protesters took the trip to New York City to oppose a plan that could keep the coal-fired Navajo generating station open. Cronkite News reporter Ian Solomon has the story from New York.
Investment firm Avenue Capital says it's made no decision on the possible purchase of Navajo Generating Station, which is set to shut down next year. But that didn't stop Navajo Nation activists from traveling to New York today to protest the plan.
In doing so, he would be standing in the way of our plans and our efforts to try to transition the NGS site and the NGS plant to a renewable energy generation site.
Nicole Horseherder led a handful of protesters who say anything that keeps the coal-fired power plant in operation will continue polluting the air, while robbing the region of a chance to pursue clean energy.
They're polluting the air and they're using our water. We're going left without no water in the future for our young kids.
Many worry that closing the power plant and the affiliated Kayenta coal mine will worsen the already dire unemployment rate on the Navajo and Hopi reservations. Nicholas Ashley says that may be true, but there's more at stake.
Compared to the entire nation as a whole, it's only a fraction, and they're sacrificing that little bit of money for the entire life of our Navajo people back home.
Horseherder says the jobs will leave eventually anyway, whether someone buys the plant or not.
Coming in and trying to revive that power plant, he's only going to have a few more years. Doing so might make a profit, but in the long run, we're going to be in this exact same place again.
In New York City, Ian Solomon, Cronkite News.
The Navajo Nation has been looking for a buyer for the plant since last year. That's when the current owner, the Salt River Project, said the coal plant was no longer economically viable. The Navajo Nation office in Washington did not respond to a call seeking comment today, and Avenue Capital said it would have no comment on the plant or the protest.
Governor Doug Ducey announced some new endorsements this morning in his re-election bid for governor. As Jennifer Alvarez reports, the focus was on border security.
The Republican candidate was joined by two union groups today. They both announced their endorsements for Ducey's re-election bid. Several Arizona Border Patrol agents, including Brandon Judd, the president of the National Border Patrol Council, joined Governor Ducey in support of his re-election campaign. The governor was officially endorsed on behalf of National Border Patrol Council and the Tucson Sector Border Patrol Union. The governor says he is honored for an endorsement by an organization that prioritizes Arizona's safety.
I will always stand with those that are brave enough to wear their badge and put them in between us and the bad guys.
Ducey faces Democrat David Garcia in the general election. Garcia is calling for border security as well as compassionate immigration reform, according to his campaign website. In the broadcast center, Jennifer Alvarez, Cronkite News.
On the Democratic campaign trail, Representative Kyrsten Sinema is talking to veterans today in her bid to replace Jeff Flake in the Senate. Sinema was joined this morning by Veterans for Sinema, a group that reaches out to other veterans in the state to encourage them to support her. The Congresswoman says she believes it is her duty to advocate on behalf of veterans across the country.
I feel like our country has to do a better job at taking care of our veterans when they return home from service. And it's been my work in the state legislature and now in Congress to ensure that they get the benefits that they deserve.
Sinema will face Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally on the ballot this November. McSally is a retired Air Force veteran.
Invest in Ed continues their fight to increase funding for public education, even after Proposition 207 was removed from the November ballot. Reporter Gabriela Becerra tells us what is coming next from the Red for Ed movement.
We've mourned, we've worked together, we've recovered, now we're ready to go.
The Red for Ed movement lost their fight to have Prop 207 on the ballot, but Arizona Education Association President Joe Thomas says their focus remains on the upcoming election.
Now the only thing to do is change some of the legislators down there. We have to elect pro-public education candidates.
They are calling this next movement Invest in Ed 2.0. Arizona Educators United leader Noah Carvelis says for the next 2 months, they will be canvassing for their desired candidates.
We're knocking doors, we're sending teachers out to talk about the issues that still remain in their classrooms and communities, and hopefully flip some seats at the legislature and see some changes happen.
Also canvassing for public education funding is Save Our Schools. They are encouraging votes against Prop 305.
We are using every day until the election to get as many people to know what is happening with education funding in Arizona and to make sure that they vote no on 305.
Prop 305 is the expansion of the Empowerment Scholarship Accounts, a program that uses public funding to send students to private and charter schools. Libby Goff is an accountant who spent her Saturday knocking on doors. Goff says she volunteers because she's concerned of the state of Arizona's public education funding.
We not only don't have enough funding going in to the bucket for public education, but we have things like the vouchers that are like holes in the bucket draining out the funds.
In Phoenix, Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Supreme Court removed Prop 207 from the ballot. Their ruling said the measure didn't accurately represent what the tax increase would be if it were to pass.
A campaign was recently launched urging Doug Ducey to appoint more minority leaders within the Arizona education boards. Cronkite News reporter Brittany Watson explains why leaders around the state are addressing this issue.
Latinos are the fastest growing population in Arizona and roughly make up half of the K-12 student population, according to the annual Datos report in the Center for Student Achievement. Arizona for Latino Leaders in Education are calling for more diverse representation across the 3 state education boards.
Diversity benefits everyone, and that is the point that I think is very important. This will benefit not only our children, but the whole community in Arizona.
But the group says it goes beyond just equal representation.
It's really about meeting the needs of our students, empowering them as lifelong learners, giving them the confidence and academic skills to excel in college, and to become dynamic contributors to the future of Arizona.
The Latino student population continues to grow. At the kindergarten level, enrollment increased by 72%. Grades 1 through 8 rose by 78%. In high school, roughly 79%, according to the U.S. Census. Alfred Mendoza is the only Latino representative on any of the 3 main education boards. The boards are made up of 30 governor-appointed members.
The students and the families are diverse, and their needs and their expectations and what they're bringing to the classroom are diverse. And we need that understanding among the decision makers.
There are currently 3 members who are serving on expired terms, and 5 members whose terms are set to expire in January of 2019.
The group believes closing the representation gap starts with appointing qualified Latino leaders.
We need education leaders who share lived experiences, identities, languages, and the values of our students and families.
And it's essential that those who serve on these boards understand all students.
In Tucson, Brittany Watson, Cronkite News.
The group plans to continue their call for action through their online petition, social media, and traveling to speak throughout Arizona.
The heroes of 9/11 continue to be remembered 17 years after the devastating terrorist attack. The 15th annual Tempe Healing Field is once again being held at Tempe Beach Park. Nearly 3,000 flags currently line the pathways of the park. A personal bio card is attached to each flag to represent a person killed during the attack. The flags stand 8 feet tall and will remain standing until Wednesday morning. Visitors are encouraged to visit the park and pay tribute to those who died. New research from a doctor in Tucson may provide a way to catch Alzheimer's early on.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how this detection method may give family members more time with their loved ones.
Plus, Hurricane Florence is gaining power. We are tracking where this dangerous storm will make landfall.
Join Emmy Award-winning CNN anchor Anderson Cooper as he receives the 2018 Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Journalism. Attracting industry leaders from the media, politics, business, and education. The award luncheon is the Cronkite School's signature fundraising event. Tickets for the luncheon ceremony on Wednesday, October 17th at the Sheraton Grand in Phoenix are available for sale at cronkite.asu.edu/luncheon or call 602-496-0482.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Barrow Neurological Institute is launching a $50 million effort to seek a cure for the deadliest form of brain cancer. The new initiative is designed to accelerate drug discoveries and clinical testing for glioblastoma, the same cancer that claimed the life of Senator John McCain. The effort is supported by the single largest research grant in the history of brain tumor research. It will fund the newly formed Ivory Brain Tumor Center at Barrow Neurological Institute.
Early detection may be the only hope for the thousands of people expected to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. As John Cardinelli reports, a doctor in Tucson has found a new way to detect the disease early on.
Arizona has the second highest growth rate of Alzheimer's disease in the country, and those numbers are on the rise, according to the Alzheimer's Association.
Individuals living with Alzheimer's in Arizona right now, 140,000. That number is expected to grow to about 200,000 by 2025.
Although there is no cure for Alzheimer's, it is still very important to detect the disease in its earliest stages. Dr. Danielle Goldfarb believes there is hope when it comes to early detection.
There have just been some studies or some trials that have published data preliminarily that are looking quite good.
Here at the University of Arizona's Department of Psychology, Dr. Matthew Grilly has recently discovered that autobiographical memory tests are effective in catching Alzheimer's early on.
We're really sort of building off several decades of research on autobiographical memory. So this is not a test that we created from scratch. We just saw it as an opportunity to apply it in a new way.
An autobiographical memory test questions one's past experiences. The participants' responses are graded on how vivid the memories were described.
We record them and go back later and take a standard or validated scoring protocol and break the memories down into little details.
Subjects who are cognitively normal participated in the study. However, half of the participants had a gene variant that could lead to Alzheimer's. Grilly found this group's results to be interesting.
They were able to come up with things that happened recently or happened remotely, and they were able to describe them. But when we took a closer look at the memories, we see that they're not describing them with as much detail. They provide a slightly fuzzier picture.
While not a cure, this is a new way to detect the disease in its earliest stages. And if a medication comes out that slows down the disease, it can help families buy memories with their loved ones. In Tucson, John Cardinelli, Cronkite News.
Some doctors are optimistic and believe within the next few years an effective drug will come out to slow down the disease.
The drought has been a pressing problem for our state, but some farmers are finding ways to conserve.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how planting barley has not only helped the land, but also local brewers feel a little more hoppy.
And not only am I tracking sizzling temperatures across the valley, but I'm also tracking now major Hurricane Florence. When and where it will make impacts, coming up in your full forecast.
Here at Cronkite News, we have producers who craft shows that make an impact on our community. Our broadcasts allow students to be involved in all levels of production, from producing to directing. We are guided by highly respected professionals who mentor the journalists of tomorrow. From technical directing to teleprompting and beyond, our production crew works tirelessly to produce meaningful and award-winning shows. We are Cronkite News on Arizona PBS.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. The 2018 election season has arrived. Join us for primary and general election debates. Right here, meet the candidates and hear their positions. Arizona Horizon, your source for what matters most this election season. Only on Arizona PBS.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Save water, drink beer? That clever t-shirt phrase is actually working for farmers along the Verde River. Cronkite News reporter Jordan Evans shows us how it is being done.
Deep in the Verde Valley of Arizona lie lush green fields and a river that sustains a multi-million-dollar economy. Farms here grow the typical crops such as corn and alfalfa, which take a large amount of the Verde River's flow. But there's a growing concern with drought in the state and how much water is coming out of the river for farming.
We need ways to balance that increased use by decreasing some of the historic uses, but we also didn't want to take farming out of production. We wanted to find a way to restore flows and to protect farming, so this was a good option for that.
Kim is part of the Nature Conservancy of Arizona, and she's working with Hauser and Hauser Farms to turn water-intensive crops to a crop that uses less water. The answer? Barley. Barley uses about 2.2 acre-feet per acre of water compared to alfalfa that uses over 3 or corn that uses over 3 as well. And then those two crops use water all summer long, whereas barley is planted in January and harvested in early June, so it doesn't use any water during June. With the Verde River being the lowest in the month of June and over 150 acres of farmland being converted to barley, over 47 million gallons of water have been kept in the river. That's enough to fill about 71 Olympic-sized pools.
We're here, first of all, to keep the Verde River healthy and healthier in the months to come.
Jan is part of the recently opened Signagua Malt and explains that it operates primarily to make growing barley financially feasible for farmers.
We wanted to provide economic incentives for farmers in the Verde River's basin to grow barley, and the malt house is pretty much a reason for them to grow it in the first place.
We like making a difference. We like setting an example. So for us to do some of the project we've done, not just with the barley, but other things that we've done have been, real good.
The plan is that more farmers will convert fields to barley, conserving water while also fostering a local industry for local brewers. So far, at least 6 breweries across the state have been buying malt from Signagua Malt.
As Arizona finds new ways to save water, other parts of the country are preparing for a hurricane.
Jordan, what can we expect for the impact of Hurricane Florence?
Well, Florence is on its way to the United States. We were kind of wondering, is it going to take a turn towards the north? But models are beginning to agree, and as we can see as we pull up the satellite here, it is already at major hurricane status. We were not forecasting this until later this week. The Category 4 is where it stands right now currently, with winds at 140 miles an hour as a move off to the west-northwest at about 13 miles an hour. And the models, like I said before, they are starting to agree. As we can see, this was a lot more wide last week with a lot of disagreements.
But since those are much closer together, we can get a better idea of where the storm is going to track. And we're tracking about Category 4 status as it makes its way into the Carolina coast. So if you have any friends or relatives out on the East Coast, definitely stay in contact with them and hope that they have a place to go, or I'm sorry, make sure they have a place to go when evacuations are ordered, because this is going to definitely bring quite the storm and make headlines across the United States for the week to come. But back here in the Valley for the evening planner tonight, we'll stay in those triple digits through the 8 o'clock hour. 90s kicking in at 9 o'clock. And then for tomorrow, we'll see temperatures start at about 83 degrees with triple digits kicking in at the noon hour. And we'll see those temperatures top out around 106 to 107 tomorrow. But lows across the state tomorrow will be in the 40s in Flagstaff and along the rim, 50s in Prescott and Payson, 80s for the Valley, and upper 70s, I should say, out to the west, up and down that Colorado River Valley. And highs out there all rebounding into those triple digits with 106 being in Quartzsite, 101 down in Tucson, 86 in Payson, 88 in Prescott, and 70s in Flagstaff and along the rim. So for the 7-day forecast, we'll extend those temperatures out in the triple digits for the next 7 days, along with plenty of sunshine. In the Weather Center, Jordan Evans for Cronkite News.
Sun Devil football head coach Herm Edwards may have been amongst one of the last people to know about his own team's ranking.
He says he didn't know his team was ranked number 23 until this morning. Coming up on Cronkite News, an inside look at today's press conference with Coach Herm Edwards.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
The Arizona Cardinals celebrated Cindy McCain as the team's honorary captain at their home opener yesterday. The wife of the late John McCain joined the players on the field for the pregame coin toss. McCain stood next to Cardinals wide receiver and family friend Larry Fitzgerald on the field. The toss landed in favor of the Cardinals, though the game ended in a tough loss from the Redbirds. McCain took to Twitter to thank the team for the warm welcome and tribute to her husband.
ASU football's big win Saturday night pushed the team into the spotlight as they moved into a national ranking for the first time since 2015. Cronkite News reporter Justin Parham shows us how the team is using that momentum looking forward to future games.
Arizona State University knocked off 15th-ranked Michigan State University, and that concern around hiring Herm Edwards as ASU's head coach has essentially been thrown out of the window. Coaching proved vital as ASU kept things close to pull out a walk-off victory as time expired.
Probably a lot of coaches in that moment would have wanted to score a touchdown. I was opposite. So we don't have to score a touchdown to win this game, because I was nervous about the fact that, look, we give them too much time. I've seen this too many times in college football. They go right back down the field.
Despite being away from football during his time as an analyst, Edwards never stopped coaching, and because of that, he was prepared for this moment.
A lot of people say I was away from football, but I wasn't away from football. I just didn't have a team to coach. But when I watch a football game, I don't watch it as a fan. I watch it as a coach. And I'm actually coaching the game. You know how many games I actually coached when I was in Bristol? Watching them. And I'm watching every situation. I'm looking at coverage. I'm looking at the front. I'm looking at what they're trying to do. And I'm looking at that when I watch the game. I don't just watch the game, oh, I know those guys. No. I'm actually coaching the game. And I'm coaching situations. And that's all I've done for the last 9 years.
The now-ranked Arizona State Sun Devils will hit the road Saturday to take on San Diego State University.
But rankings don't help you win. Preparation and performance is how you win football games.
With 2 wins under his belt, Edwards doesn't care if his team wins the next game by a single point. In Tempe, Justin Parham, Cronkite News.
The Sun Devils are set to kick off against San Diego State Saturday at 7:30. With a win, well, fans will be dancing again in Tempe.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we will ask Maricopa County Recorder Adrian Fontes about Election Day problems at polling places. And a local artist's work decorates a public school founded by NBA star LeBron James.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, I talk with former Secretary of State John Kerry about how he sees the U.S. role in the world now. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.